This video is mostly for the remote learners to catch you up on the things we did together in class on Monday and Tuesday. I did a lot, before I talk about these problems, I did a lot of try this on your own and work on this together, take 5 minutes to do it. So I highly recommend that you pause as we look at these problems and try them for yourself. They're meant to be ones that you can at least start on your own. So pause the video as I look at each problem and try out and see what you can figure out on your own. So starting with this first problem, this is in your notes. You have the driving distances of these golfers. And the question is approximately what proportion of the golfers drive on average less than 280 yards. So pause this, take a minute, and see if you can come up with it on your own. Proportion means that we should get a fraction or a decimal. And it's not going to be exact because we have to estimate a little bit, but you should get something relatively close to my answer. Here is 280. And since I want less than 280 yards, I want everything to the left of it. So I want to count everything to the left of it. It looks like there's about 20 in this grid. There's about 5 here, another 3 here, and another 1 here. I get about 29. If you're getting like 30, that's fine. If you're getting 50, well, your counting might be off a little bit. Out of, this number should match me, 202. Where am I getting that from? I didn't count anything. It says so up here, that there are 202 total people that we're looking at. So 29 out of 202, and then you can convert that to a decimal if you want. Next, we looked at this example, which is also in your notes, and we discussed a bit more what we can say about this dot plot, what kind of statements we could make. And so if you want to pause and try something on your own, give me a sentence or two that you would be able to tell me about this dot plot. Now in class I said we could have about 4 or 5 different sentences that we could say at this point. You could tell me that the lowest value is 45 and the highest value is 52 matches. You could say that if you know how to do the mode, you could say that the mode is 50. The median also turns out to be 50. You could tell me that the data is pretty close together. It's not extremely spread out. Another way of saying the mode is 50 is that the data peaks around 50. So most of the data is packed around the 49, 50, 51 range. So I'm going to use this to lead into the 4 main things that you're going to need to say about a distribution. Anytime it asks you to describe a graph or describe a distribution or describe a set of data, then these are the 4 things you're going to need to make sure to talk about. We use SOX as an acronym to remember it. S is going to stand for shape. And this is going to say what kind of shape or trend does it look like the data has. O is going to stand for a word that hopefully you know, which is outliers. There weren't any on that graph, but outliers is going to be any extremely high or extremely low ends of data. And so, for example, if we were trying to get together a group to get their average income and all of a sudden Jeff Bezos walks in, that's an outlier, extremely high measurement. And so we want to address that and talk about whether we should account for it, throw it out, what should we do with the outlier. C stands for center. Center is things like our mean and median. And we'll talk in the next section about how to calculate all these things and how to be more specific about how we say them. But I want to kind of introduce what we say. So center is where the data is centered, like a median. And then S, the last S, stands for spread. You'll notice I use words like spread out or packed together. Someone in class used variance or variation. That's another way to describe spread. But in other words, is the data fairly spread out or packed closely together? those are things that we can talk about. And again, in the next section, we'll put some more specific numbers to measurements of spread, like we have mean and median for measurements of center. And if you forgot how to find the mean and how to find the median, we'll talk about that too. Last thing, you need to make sure that you're talking in the context of the question. So when I was talking about the boxes of matches, then I should say that we're talking about matches and that we're talking about boxes of matches. I shouldn't just say the median is 50. 50 what? 50 matches. Now we have some context behind these numbers and what we're talking about. You shouldn't just put a number without attaching a label or some bit of context to what the number means. That's the whole point of describing it. So shape, outliers, center, spread, that's going to be SOX, and you want to make sure you have the context of the question. I also have another homework assignment for you. This should be posted on Canvas today. This example is not in your notes, but it gives you another problem to try. It's saying, two parents have each built a toy catapult to use in a game in an elementary school fair. To play the game, we're going to launch ping pong balls from catapults so that the balls land within a 5-centimeter band. A target is going to be drawn in the middle so that all points are the same distance from the launching location. So we have a catapult that we're launching from here and a target we're trying to hit out here. Now the parents have two different catapults that we're launching according to slightly different plans, and they want to test how effective and how useful each of them are. So they build two different catapults, A and B, and test out launching 40 ping pong balls from each of them. And here are the two dot plots we get from this data. And I want you to pause here, even if you haven't paused in the other ones, I want you to pause here and see if you can talk about each of the pieces that we said that we should talk about. I want to see if you can make comparisons between A and B. Talk about shape. Talk about the outliers. Are there any outliers in either of these catapults? Talk about center. Where is each of them centered? If you know how to get the median, figure that out. And talk about spread. Is one of them more spread out or packed more tightly together than the other? These are all things that you can describe and talk about with this data. So take a minute or two and write about 2 or 3 sentences and see what you can mention. Answer coming in 3, 2, 1. Here's the answer that AP gave. The first thing it talks about is the shape. Both distributions are roughly symmetric and somewhat mound-shaped. That's a description of shape. The center, it got the median for A being 136 and the median of B being 138. So it's saying that the center is slightly lower for A than it is for B. Next, they talk about spread. There's more variability in the distances traveled by the ping pong balls launched with catapult A. That's comparing the spread, saying there's more variability with A than there is with B. And then finally, they talk about outliers, saying that there is more outliers potentially in A than there is in B, where all the data is really close together and there's no real candidates for outliers. So comparing shape, outliers, center, spread, it's got the context of the question, because we're not just talking about here's A, the median is 136, we're putting a label on it, centimeters. We're talking about what is A. A is a catapult, and B is a catapult, and that's what we're comparing. We're comparing launch distances. These are all things to mention in your descriptions. One last thing, since we're comparing two different distributions, there should be comparison words in your answer. In other words, you'll notice they didn't just say the median of A is 136, median of B is 138. They used a comparison word and said that the median is smaller for one than the other. We didn't just say that We said that A had more variability than B did. These are all comparison words. More, less. These are all comparison words. More, less, about the same, more spread out. And you want to make sure that you're actually comparing them and not just listing, here's all the information for A and here's all the information for B. And that should catch you up for what we did. Tomorrow we're going to start section 3 live, and you'll have a bit more of a clear picture and more specifics on the stuff that we talked about yesterday and today. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.